You could probably get him to read just about anything. But no, I'm sure that that he obviously has to pay attention to what type projects that he represents and all that, so that he can continue to work. Um, but it was pretty brave that he went ahead and did that. So in real life, then I guess you're Taylor, in a
Well,
way.
maybe Cornelius.
Cornelius.
Yeah, the ape archaeologist. Yeah, yeah, like that.
Now, these the two lectures that you presented at the Bay Area UFO conference, how many people attended that conference, by the way?
Well, it was very well attended. It was held in a big hotel, the DoubleTree in San Jose, and I didn't sit there and count them all, but in the big sessions, they had two kinds of lectures: the open lectures that everybody would attend, and then they had the workshop lectures where you had to pay a little extra to get in. So in those open lectures, they were held in a big ballroom type sized room, and there were hundreds of people there. I would guess about between 700 and 1,000 people, as far as I could tell. But it was a pretty big event.
And your lectures were titled "Forbidden Archaeology and the Extraterrestrial Hypothesis," and the workshop "Human Devolution: A Vedic Alternative to Darwin's Theory."
Right. Yeah. Usually when I go out to conferences, I like to speak about the books of mine that have already been out there and published, so that people can get more information. So what I'm specifically talking about there in the first lecture is the extraterrestrial hypothesis of human origins, and that basically involves the idea that the process of evolution went on pretty much as the materialistic scientists say, up to the point of the ape man, the ape man, Homo erectus. And then, according to this extraterrestrial hypothesis, some ETs came and manipulated the genes of this ape man, and then around 300,000 years ago, and then only after that do you get human beings like us. So I was presenting evidence against that particular idea. Now, I do believe there are extraterrestrials. I think there's life on all planets. That's something I accept. And I do accept the idea that there have been higher beings from other parts of the cosmos visiting our Earth for a long time. But this particular idea that human beings were produced by some extraterrestrial intervention about 300,000 years ago by manipulating the genes of this ape man, Homo erectus, I don't accept that. First of all, you've got a lot of archaeological evidence that contradicts that idea. As I was mentioning earlier in the show, there's a lot of evidence documented in my book, Forbidden Archeology, that humans like us existed far longer than 300,000 years ago. I was talking about the California gold mine discoveries that go back 50 million years. I was talking about the Macoupin County skeleton that goes back 300 million years. There are human artifacts that have been found going back 500 million years, even further back in time. So as far as I can see, humans have been present since the very beginnings of the history of life on Earth, which is a message that we find in the Bible and the Koran and the Vedas and practically all the wisdom traditions of the world. The Australian Aboriginals, Native Americans, they all say that humans have been around since the beginning. And there's a lot of archaeological evidence that supports that. So in that lecture at the Bay Area UFO Expo, I was just dealing with this specific theory that some people have, that humans like us were only produced about 300,000 years ago by some extraterrestrial intervention and manipulation of the DNA of the ape men that existed on Earth at that time.
Do you think that that there could have been some extraterrestrial intervention, even going back millions or billions of years ago, as far as how humans originally got to this Earth, or maybe they are the extraterrestrials that came here.
Oh, well, I think we are really all extraterrestrials in the sense that our spiritual essence comes from God, who exists in heaven, or at the highest level of pure consciousness or spirit. So I don't think any of us are originally from here, really. And as far as interventions go, every wisdom tradition of the world has the idea that the earth is being visited by higher beings. Now, you can call them angels or whatever. You can call them angels, extraterrestrials, gods or goddesses or whatever. But I think every wisdom tradition of the world, if you look at it, has the idea that we are a part of a whole cosmic hierarchy of beings. We have one level, the terrestrial level, dominated by ordinary matter and inhabited by beings adapted to the conditions there, and that's where we find ourselves now. But then beyond that, there's another level of the cosmos dominated by more subtle mental and intellectual energies. It's inhabited by beings adapted to the conditions there. And people down through history have had different names for these beings. As I said, they've called them gods, goddesses, astral beings, angels, even modern extraterrestrial UFO types of ideas and things like that. But then beyond that, there's the level of pure consciousness or spirit where we originally start out. So I think there's communication, there's travel between these different dimensions. And all the wisdom traditions of the world have something like that, Jacob's ladder or something, where where you have examples of either sometimes beings from the higher levels coming down to the lower levels to try to guide the people on this level back to where they originally came from, back to where they originally belong. Or you have examples of people traveling from the lower levels up to the higher levels. There are stories like that in the Bible, and practically every great wisdom tradition. The Vedas of India have stories like that.
Right, now the Vedas have the spacecraft, and arguably so does the Bible.
Yes.
So when it says angels are coming down from the heavens or heaven, I mean, it could just be referring to the sky or the outer space.
Well, I think it refers to it can refer to a couple of things. The Vedas, as you say, do make mention of different kinds of spacecraft. They're called vimanas, and there were many different kinds. Some of them were craft that could travel from planet to planet that were made of metal and all kinds of ordinary sorts of things. And they were sometimes used not just by the more, what we might call angelic types of beings, but by the more demoniac types of beings to conduct warfare even. But then the more angelic beings, the ones that are representative of the forces of good in the cosmos, they have their own kinds of vimanas, which are made of more subtle energies or spiritual energies, and that can travel not just from planet to planet on our level, but from dimension to dimension in the larger cosmos itself. So I think you've got all different kinds. If you really look at everything, all the kinds of evidence that are out there, you'll see, well, yes, there are many different kinds of spacecraft.
Right, now, is there a mention in the Vedas, I believe it's the Vedas, of Merkaba? Have you heard of that term